So I just wanted to give everyone a quick rundown for anyone that is new, is not familiar with Go Local Arizona. We are the fastest growing small business organization in Arizona, and we are here to support small businesses, help you make connections, and help support the support shop local mantra. We want to support you as an entrepreneur with helping you connect to customers through our business directory, through our Facebook groups, also connect with other business owners on our Zoom networking events and our in-person networking events. We also help small businesses through marketing trainings like today, small business automation. And at the end, I'll through some other events that we have coming up that are similar. Lastly, we just are advocates for small business in the legislature, anything that affects a small business or that might impact them or hurt them. We want to be here to help give a stronger voice to small business.
It looks like the bulk of the people are here. Shall we go give them what they want and what they're here about?
Yes. Can I introduce you, sir?
Of course,
I feel like I want to.
absolutely.
Can everybody see Paul okay? Just making sure. He's going to turn some slides on here in a second. But Paul Sokol is an automation expert. He's been doing this forever. I met him, I don't even know how many years ago now, when we both did some interaction with a company called Infusionsoft back in the day and some of their big conferences and meetings that they had. But his bio says he started selling dime store candy for 25 cents in middle school. I can completely relate to that. After a gauntlet of college combined with direct sales and founding his first company, he dove headfirst into small business automation in the summer of 2008. So quite a long time. He's helped thousands of business owners and leaders with an authoritative book on sales and marketing, and he's personally sold $1 million in automation and advertising services. Once again, any questions that you have in the chat, please. Thank you all so much for being here today. It's good to see everybody. And with that, Paul, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the fantastic introduction, Neil, and so good to see all of y'all. And yeah, I've been doing this. I started in grad school when I was 25. I'm going to be 40 in November 6th in a couple of weeks. And so I've been doing this for quite some time. And that's why I wanted to go ahead and share with you today some myths about automation, especially because now it's starting to become more popular, more common. And especially as a service-based business, you may be wondering, does this work for you? Does this not work for you? So let me make sure I have the chat up on my side, which it is, and then I'll definitely make sure to answer questions as we go through this. I've got 37 slides here. I'm going to go ahead and go through these reasonably quickly, and I got a free gift for you at the end of this. So let's go ahead and have some fun here. And I actually want to start with an experience that Neil had personally with a small service-based business. So he needed a new air conditioner. His AC didn't work. He needed a new one. So he had 5 companies come out for a quote. And then after they came out, he only had 2 of them follow up with him. So who do you think got that business? The obvious answer is at least one of those 2 folks, unless there was something that maybe didn't jive with him. But that's the opportunity that we have here as local service-based businesses here. You got to make sure you follow people. That's the name of the game. And we're going to go ahead and dispel some myths today and hopefully have a little bit of fun about what does that mean? The first myth is that only big companies need to use automation, and that's actually not the case. And I'll go ahead and give you a couple of examples in a moment. But before we get into it, I just want to briefly introduce myself. As Neil said, I've been doing this for quite some time. If you want to follow up with me on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm there. But I've been entrepreneurial, again, since middle school. I would buy Fun Dip and Jolly Rancher sticks for a dime at the Dollar General, and then I'd sell them for a quarter on the bus and at school. I learned how to do direct sales in college, even before I got involved with this. So I sold Cutco knives from 2004 to 2008, and that's when I took those skills and brought them online, which I've done since 2008, of course. And then I've worked with a bunch of people. I actually wrote the Infusionsoft cookbook many years ago, which now it's known as Keep. It's a giant tome of recipes because it's literally a cookbook. It's like, hey, do you need a contact us form? Do you want a sales pipeline? This kind of stuff. So I've personally worked with a bunch of folks. And then right now I've been a consultant working with small businesses, and I'm also a live event promoter in Arizona. I've been running a nonprofit since 2015 called Keep Children Rockin'. We provide music equipment repairs and donations to youth music programs. And then as our major funding event, we do a heavy metal festival every year called the Dead of Winter Fest. And that's basically what I've been doing. So hopefully that's enough of a reason for you to lean in, take some notes, and of course, ask a bunch of questions as we go through this. So here's the objectives for today. Here's what I want you to take away from this. In general, I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with automation. I want to take any fears you might have and just allay those and be like, hey, it's valid, but it's not really that big of a deal. I want to help you understand and how to know what platform is the best for you, because based on your business, there's different bells and whistles for each kind of one. And then I also want to make sure you understand the difference between this like hunter mentality versus that farmer hunter gatherer mentality, and how automation actually supports both of those. So you can go ahead and eat the game that you hunted this morning, but you could also go ahead and eat the fruits and the vegetables that you planted 6 months ago. And automation does support both of those. And at the very end of this, regardless of what happens, I want you to walk away with some kind of starting point for your own business. So let's go ahead and talk about this myth that only big companies need to use automation. So if you think about it, and maybe you've never thought about it in this way, automation is nothing more than relationships at scale. So the idea is whatever you would do for somebody individually, you would do that with automation, right? So let me go ahead and give you an example here with the individual experience. So I want to use the example of like inviting somebody to a party, right? So let's say that you have like a game night or whatever happening. Let's go ahead and talk about how that would actually work one-on-one. Okay. So I actually lied. That's not the example we're using. We're going to use a service-based example. Sorry about that. I usually do the party example here, but it's the same kind of thing. So you're a small local business and somebody schedules an appointment to get a quote. So just like Neil had, he needs a new air conditioner and he wants people to come out, go ahead and give him a quote. The next milestone is, of course, the appointment is complete. They show up, they look at his system, they see what's going on, and then we finally send the quote out to them. Like that's what happens one-on-one. And then, of course, hopefully the quote is accepted, and that's what goes from there. And then the job is scheduled and it's completed, right? So this is, as a local service business, a very common example. People come out, you do your thing, you send them a quote, maybe an estimate, however it works, and then the customer says, yep, this works, let's go ahead and do it, and the job is scheduled and completed. So this is what you would automate around, okay? So I actually mixed it up. The party example is coming up, all right? But this is what you would automate. So it doesn't matter if you're a big company or a small company, these are the major milestones. So the key takeaway here is that if you're not going to do it individually, do not automate it. Otherwise, you get weirdness at scale, okay? And what I mean by weirdness at scale is like let's go back to the previous slide here, right? So like you wouldn't email or text everybody one every single day once the appointment is scheduled. Hey, your appointment's scheduled. And then, hey, I'll see you in the next appointment. And then, hey, I'll see you then. And then when the quote is sent, hey, here's your quote. Hey, what do you think about the quote? Hey, do you like this quote? Hey, what do you think about this quote, right? That's weird, okay? So you would not want to automate that. Again, otherwise you get weirdness at scale. So no, big companies need to use automation, but also small companies can use it too. Any company can benefit from automation, assuming that you have care and you plan out what the customer journey should go ahead and look like. Okay. And so let's talk about the second myth, which is that automation needs to be complex to provide value. This is definitely not the case. In fact, version 1 is better than version 0. Just get something in place first, and then you can go ahead and expand from there. So let's go ahead and look at one of those milestones that we had before. Let's look at this idea of an appointment follow, okay? Because when it comes to automation, you want to start with like the biggest problems or the biggest milestones and then go up from there. So if you're not doing anything at all, the simplest thing that you can do is just send an immediate confirmation of the appointment once somebody's scheduled, all right? Can you do this manually? Yeah, and you probably should be doing it manually, but that's something you would do in real life individually, so you can go ahead and automate that. And maybe that's version 1. Maybe all you do is once someone books an appointment with you, you send an immediate confirmation, and that's going to go ahead and save you time. It's not going to hurt the relationship. Again, you're not going to be weird at scale because you would do this anyway. So that's the kind of thing that you would automate. So just get that in place to start, and then you can evolve from there. So for example, the next enhancement from here is maybe you send some reminders leading up to this appointment. So you can send an immediate email or a text that says, hey, I'm going to chat with you next Friday, October 31st. And then maybe you have some automation that goes out to send a reminder the day before. Hey, we're confirmed for tomorrow. I'm excited to go ahead and wrap with you about X, Y, and Z. And you're going to be working with the sales tech, Johnny or Sally or whatever the case is. And then maybe you do it across both email and text. Okay. But you probably don't want to come out of the gates with that, especially if you're brand new to it, right? Just a little bit at a time. It's a progressive thing that you're evolving into. And again, Neil, feel free to break in at any point in time if something's not making sense or if there's some questions coming in. And then from there, you can go beyond that. So there's all sorts of enhancements you can do once people do an appointment follow-up, or rather once people book an appointment to follow up, which again, this is something that you're going to do anyway. You're probably going to send some kind of confirmation, and you're probably going to send some kind of reminder the day before, maybe the day of. So you can automate that confidently, knowing that it's not going to be weird, because that's what you would do anyway, as an individual human. And then there's all sorts of enhancements we can do from there. So for example, you could do a post-appointment follow-up. So getting back to the example we talked about earlier, when those 5 people showed up to give Neil a quote on his air conditioner, they should have had at least a basic follow-up that was like, hey, thanks for letting us come out. We'll go ahead and follow up with you with some more information. It can be generic like that, but it lets people know that you're paying attention to them and they're not just some number, right? Nobody wants to be a number. Nobody just wants to be a statistic. So you can do post-appointment follow-up based on whatever happened. Something else you can do is, as you get more evolved, you can build in a reschedule or a cancel functionality. Because you know what? Life happens. Sometimes you have to reschedule things. Sometimes people can't do the appointment, they have to cancel. And then you can follow up with them to schedule another one, right? You don't have to come out of the gates with this. This is something that you would want to do once you're comfortable with sending an immediate reminder, a couple of follow-ups before, and then, give people the opportunity to reschedule or cancel. And most of the platforms that exist out there have this built in. So it's not anything you necessarily have to do custom. The messaging, though, is going to be, unique to whatever you're doing. And then when you really want to take it to the next level, this is where you can start to leverage a formal pipeline to track people through the process. And when we talk about pipeline, it's the major milestones in the process, which is, beyond what we're going to go ahead and talk about today. But if you have a system with a pipeline, you don't necessarily have to use this right away out of the gate. Just get comfortable with doing the basic stuff, and then you can evolve into a pipeline, especially as you grow your team. If it's just you and you're the only person doing it, then you can kind of keep track of it on your own. But as you add another sales rep, 2, 3, 4, when you got a whole team of folks doing it, you do need to have a pipeline, so that way everybody's using it the same way. And then as a sales manager, either you or whoever is the sales manager can hold those people to account and govern what they're supposed to do. So this is false. Automation does need to be complex to provide value. I'd recommend starting simple and then get more complex over time. And I don't know why this analogy hit my head right now, but it's like skateboarding. I've been a skateboarder most of my life. Start with something simple. Do an ollie, do a kickflip, and then over time, do more advanced things, do more advanced tricks, right? Using automation in your business is the exact same way. Because at the end of the day, it's about saving yourself time without sacrificing the relationship.
Yeah, let me jump in for a second. I agree. I think a lot of people get intimidated by automation and they feel like they have to have the whole plan ready or they have to know everything they want to do. But if you do start in small little snippets and do something to get you started, that'll build you on the success, right?
We'll go ahead and ask questions later. But if this resonates with you, go ahead and let us know in the chat. Go ahead and ask some questions about it because there's many tools that do automation out there. And so if you've got some questions about it or like, how do I start because this is my business, go ahead and let us know. I'm making good time. Maybe I should slow down a little bit. If you want me to slow down, go ahead and let me know in the chat.
I do have a question.
Yeah, let's go.
This is a Neil question. So backing up before that appointment is booked,
Mm-hmm.
a struggle that I could see, that I see with small businesses, like you got 10 leads, like they came in on Facebook or they emailed you or someone referred you last night at the networking event. You have to organize them. You have to prioritize them. You have to figure out what's the next step or who's the most priority. Are there tools and can you help people with that? Because those are hot people, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I got 10 of them. I only have a small staff. I don't have an assistant. How can automation help me with that?
Yeah. So let's actually go back to the appointment follow-up and we can talk about, actually, let's go back to the milestones here. Okay. So you're talking about before the appointment is scheduled, right? You can absolutely use automation for that. And this is something that I do all the time. And it doesn't matter what system you're using. When you go to a networking event, I actually went to a Thrive Keeps Grow conference last week, and I have a form bookmarked on my phone. So anytime I meet somebody, they give me their business card, they're like, hey, let's follow up. I go ahead and put their info right into there. That can trigger automation that says, great, let's go ahead and book a call. And then for the people that book a call, of course, then they move ahead in the process. For the people that don't book a call, I do use a pipeline for my own business. Then I can follow up with them accordingly. Hey, it was awesome to meet you last week. Do you still want to chat about advertising? Do you still want to chat out about automation based on whatever they have. So yeah, you can go ahead and use automation for these key milestones. And that's a really good question, Neil. I think that it's based on the major the checkpoints along the way. So when I'm talking about sales processes and things like that, it helps to think about it like a set of stairs where every single stair is a meaningful step in the process. And that's exactly what we have here. And then you can automate around that. So you can be like new lead, and then they're qualified, then they book a call, and then, or they book an appointment, and then the appointment is complete, and then we send a quote, and then the quote is accepted, right? And there's kind of one step at a time. That's a really good call out because yeah, this is kind of like mid sales process. But what about people that just reach out? Like if you're like a garage door installer and someone says, hey, I need help with my garage, and they don't book an appointment right away, you don't want them to slip through the cracks. You want to make sure you follow up with them either in an automated fashion, or you have a pipeline to have your sales team manually follow up and be like, hey, do you still need that spring fixed on your garage door?
Yeah.
Or
You mentioned he carries a form on his phone. Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully everyone has been doing something similar. I want you to vote in the comments, and then we also have a question from Vanessa. But I want everyone to vote in the comments. Okay. Yes or no. Do you have a form on your website that actually works where you can collect somebody's email address?
Yes
or no. That works. No cheating, because I've seen 1,000 websites with a contact form that goes to a dead Jot form or a dead whatever the platform is, and it doesn't work. So that is like stopped everything today. And if you don't have that, Elizabeth does. A couple of you don't, but you can work on that. They're going to go to social media. They're going to go to your Facebook, and you say contact us. And I'll let Paul take over on that, but he does that on his phone. I did a QR code last night at our event that some of you were at, and I said, scan this QR code. It takes them right to my form. And I use an app called Brevo, and he is a guru on several other things, and I'll let him answer the question. And the question from Vanessa is, what applications are you using to do all this automation? Can you post yours so I have some to compare with, please?
100%. So as Neil mentioned, I've been using Infusionsoft since 2008. It's now known as Keep, but nothing is unique about what I'm doing here. Okay, so what you're seeing right now, I just mirrored my phone to here. This is the form that is bookmarked on my phone. Last week when I was at this conference, anytime I met somebody, if they gave me a business card, I just put their info in, or I just actually handed my phone to them and be like, hey, give me your info, right? So they could give me their info, and then I could go ahead and add them to my pipeline if I needed to. I also have a free mini course of how to automate like a pro that I could add people to as well. And then there's like a high ticket offer for a Falcon thing. But that's it doesn't matter what tool you're using, whether you're using Brevo, Keep, High Level, HubSpot, whatever. If you have a CRM that can build a form, you can do this, okay? Because you know how networking events are. You're meeting a bunch of people and you're talking to a bunch of folks, and you don't want people to slip through the cracks. So just have a form that puts people into your database. Now, when this form gets filled out, the system will automatically send them, hey, nice to meet you email with the picture of my face on it, because networking, right? And here's a link to my website. And then if you do not click to the website, and this is an advanced thing, 1 week later, you're going to need another email from you that says, hey, I know that, you're probably busy climbing out from the emails of the conference, but here's a link to my website, right? But this whole add a pipeline thing at the bottom right here, that puts people into my pipeline. So I can make sure that they're never going to slip through the cracks. And that's what I do for my own business. And I've been doing this for years. So anyway, that is that.
But yeah, like you said, starting small. I mean, have something and then build from it, even if you're embedding like another third-party form. But I've seen so many that it's like the contact us form is dead. And I mean, you got to get back to those people in 5 minutes. So make sure you have that stuff rolling for sure, which can then start into the automations.
So I'll give you I'll ruin the magic trick. If you fill out that form, you're going to get an email from me in 17 minutes. Why 17 minutes? If I'm sitting and talking to you, Neil, and I go, hey, give me your info, right? And you immediately get an email from me, obviously I didn't email you because I'm right in front of you, okay? But when you're networking, there's a good chance that within a quarter of an hour, I have walked away from you, and then now you're going to get an email from me. You do need to put a lot of care into, how you set your stuff up. Otherwise, again, you get weirdness at scale. If you fill out this form and you get an email from me immediately, you're going to be like, that's weird. I'm sitting here talking to you. How did you send me an email? Kind of ruins the magic trick. So that was such a great side note. Thank you. Let's keep rocking with this. So again, automation does need to be complex. Is that complex, guys? Here's a web form, and it just puts someone in the system and puts them in the pipeline. That's not complex, okay? And if I add people to the pipeline, I think it also gives them a calendar link to book with me too, so they can just book a call with me. So again, version 1's better than version none, and then you can always enhance it from here. So start simple, get complex over time. So actually, that dovetails perfectly into the third myth. The automation is robotic and impersonal. It's not. So again, if you would not do it individually, do not automate it. So I can't think of a better example of what I just said. You fill out the form, Neil, you immediately get an email. That's weird. At least wait 30 minutes, 17 minutes, because I'm a weirdo. 17 minutes, most people aren't going to figure out that oh, this was automated, right? But don't automate it if you would not do it individually. And then when we're talking about automation, you can use this when, then, until framework. So when this happens, then do this until they do that. And this guarantees a good customer experience. And so now here's that inviting to a friend example that I jumped the gun on a little bit earlier. But this is what you would do individually, personally with your friends. In fact, I had a game night with my buddies 2 Fridays ago. And this is pretty much exactly what I did. And I didn't even do it intentionally, but that's kind of how it worked. So when I'm throwing a party next week and I want to invite a friend. So let's say that today's Thursday. Perfect. I'm going to have a party next Friday on Halloween. Okay. I'm going to have a party on Halloween. I want to invite a friend. Then I'm going to immediately send an email that says, hey, I'm having a party. Do you want to be part of it? Now let's pretend that someone doesn't respond to that email. Or maybe this is a text message. The channel doesn't really matter necessarily. It's more about just the experience. So, hey, Neil, I'm having a party next Friday. Do you want to come hang out for Halloween? Okay. Let's say I don't hear from you. Well, guess what? If I don't hear from you, 3 days later in the morning, I'm going to send a reminder. So then this would be Monday morning. And then again, this is individual. Oh, hey, I got a party on Friday. I haven't heard from Neil. It's the start of my week. Hey, let me send you another reminder. Maybe I send you another email. Maybe I send you another text that says, hey, buddy, I'm just working on final head count. You're going to be here at the party on Friday in the morning. And then 4 days later in the afternoon. So Thursday in the afternoon, it's kind of like a do or get off the pot. Hey, man, we're buying food and drinks. I want to know how many people are going to show up. Are you going to show up? I don't care if you're coming or not. Just let me know. And maybe it's like a text message. So when I'm throwing a party, then do this follow-up until they respond. If Neil responds off that first email, I don't need to send a 3 days or 4 days email. If he responds on that 3 day in the morning on Monday, obviously I don't need to send him that reminder. But if he's not responding, then I'll go ahead and send him a text. In fact, my buddy Tristan, he literally went through this whole thing. I texted him on Thursday, I guess 2 weeks ago, exactly 2 weeks ago, actually. And I'm like, hey, man, we're getting snacks. I just need a final head count. Are you coming or not? I don't care, but just let me know. And then he texted me back a few minutes later. He's like, oh, man, I fell asleep last night. I wanted to follow up with you and say, yeah, I'm showing up. But yeah, I'm going to be there. Okay. And that was it. So this is the individual personal example. This is what you would do normally as a regular person. Go ahead and look how this literally is an analog for following up on a quote. This is the automated business example. When you deliver a quote, then send an initial delivery email. Even if the quote is coming from a different system, which is really common, you can still send an email that says, hey, I sent you a quote, look for an email from this, or look for an email with this subject line, let me know what you think. And then if you haven't heard from them 3 days later in the morning, hey, friendly reminder, here's the quote, let me know what you think. And then 4 days later, hey, does this work for you or not?
So you're talking about other platforms like Jobber or Service Titan or whatever. Yeah. There's a couple of those. I think Heidi mentioned in the chat some other platforms have some features 100%. Definitely, right? But you can supplement those yes. as well.
And that's okay to be fully transparent about the automation. Be like, hey, I sent you a quote from this other system, which is automated, and that's cool. But hey, does that work for you? Hey, I haven't heard back from, good morning, Neil. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Does that quote work for you? Hey, man, happy Saturday. Hope your weekend's going great. Hey, does that quote work for you? And it's still the same until they accept or they don't accept. And that's okay too. But the whole point is when, then, until. When you do something, when the milestone is hit, then do this until they answer, until there's a response. It's the exact same thing as the party analogy, which now that I'm looking at, I should have had this here. But when you're throwing a party, initial, 3 days later, 4 days later until they respond. When you follow up on a quote, same thing. You deliver a quote, here's the initial, 3 days later, 4 days later until they accept or not. That's what you would do as like a real human, living, breathing person. That's what you automate because that's what you would do individually. Don't automate anything that you wouldn't do normally. Because what most people do is like you deliver a quote and then they'll just hammer you with an email every single day. Hey, what do you think? Hey, what's up with this quote? That just upsets people. And it's clearly, obviously automated. And you're not working on relationships at scale. Remember what I said earlier, slide 3 or something, that automation is relationships at scale. This is building a relationship. This is giving people the space to have their life, but also follow up with you. And if they don't, cool. You follow up with them. Hey, haven't heard from you. How's the quote going? Which leads me to the next kind of point is that when you're writing these automated messages, write it like it's going to one single person and keep in mind the whole when until context. Hey, if we send a quote and we haven't heard later, 3 days later, hey, and we know it's going out in the morning because we can schedule that. Good morning, Neil. I wanted to follow up on the quote. Does that work for you? If you have any questions, reply or send me a text or call me, whatever, right? Because if it works for one person, it's going to work for a million people.
Back to my air conditioner example. So that was in May. By the way, my air conditioner still works, okay? I was thinking it wasn't going to make it through the summer after last year's summer. I thought it's not going to make it another summer. So I was just preemptive. And since I work with a lot of blue collar businesses, I got at least 5. I think it was 5. But since May, I have not heard a word from any of these people, like not even just at that point, you could send a ancillary follow-up cooling tips. Something, maybe touch base a couple times. Of course, have an unsubscribe option. I don't know if the folks on let's do a vote. Everyone on the Zoom, would you prefer, like you got a quote from a plumber or an air conditioning or electrician or something, would you prefer a follow-up on your SMS, on your phone, or on your email, or a phone call?
There you go.
Both an email.
And Ashley has a great question. So while y'all are voting on that, Ashley says, what if they never respond or accept? Do you still follow up or stop after 4 days later? That's kind of up to you as the business owner. So this is what I would do. If I was building this for myself or for a client, I would probably make this quote follow-up. I would probably make it a short-term nurture where maybe I follow up with them for like a whole month, maybe 2 months, but the timing is getting spaced out more. So after 4 days later, maybe I send another follow-up 7 days later that says, hey, I wanted to make sure that you're taken care of. Does this work for you or not? And then maybe another week after that. And then maybe 2 weeks after that. So now it's a whole month's worth of follow-up. And then you can even give people a crap or get off the pot. On that very last email, be like, hey, I wanted to follow up with you. I haven't heard from you since we did a quote. Does this work for you or not? Whether it does or not, just let me know because I don't want to be a bother. Just tell me what's going on. And then you could, to your point, you could keep them in the funnel until they are a clear yes or no. Then you could have like a long-term nurture, which I usually do this around holidays. And based on your business, you can do follow-up around that. I have clients, in the Americas, in Europe, pretty much all, Australia, all over the world. So I have a long-term nurture it's 9 emails around international holidays. So you're at least going to get an email from me once every month or so, and then it repeats itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So like New Year's and like Valentine's Day and like International Friendship Day, like these kinds of things, just to stay top of mind. And as soon as somebody responds to that as either like a yes or a no, then that stops. Again, the whole idea is like, keep your automated messages personal.
Yeah, so Heidi from Generations Doors and Docks, who's on the call today, she has a great sort of follow-up among holidays, okay? Her holiday is the first year anniversary of the new garage door. So she would like to send a little like postcard or something, happy birthday to your garage door, and remind them that they got a beautiful garage door from her business. And I think that's a really great example. And that can fully be automated.
Absolutely. And even Vanessa has a great thing that says, hey, I'd like the option to say yes or no in the text or email that triggers other responses or not, because that's okay too. You can totally have a link in an email that says, listen, if you found another solution, just click here and I'll stop emailing you about this, that kind of thing. So you can definitely build that in there. But when we talk about like the fulfillment, the nurturing of that fulfillment, that's actually a really deep insight, Heidi, because it doesn't matter what you're selling. product, service, to businesses, to consumers. Every line item has a marketing journey, a sales journey, and then the fulfillment journey. So you're talking about is that fulfillment journey. So you install the garage. Great. They're a customer. They're a paying customer. Show up a year later that says, how's your garage doing? And maybe you would want to have a short-term thing, maybe like 2 weeks after the fact. Hey, hope your garage is working well. Do you need help programming your wireless thing or whatever? And then, cool. A year later, how's it going? And then maybe you go into like, a cycle of like, hey, I'm in Arizona, which I think we're all in Arizona. It's very dusty. So in springtime, it's like, hey, have you lubricated your garage door hinges yet? And you can even recommend people do things on their own because that just provides value and shows that you care. Go to Home Depot, buy a silicone lubricant and spray all your hinges down. If you don't have the time to do it or you're not sure, let me know. We'll go ahead and send somebody out. And maybe you do it as like a returning customer discount or something cheap. Like, cool, we'll do it for $79, whatever the case is. And yes, it reminds them the door should be maintained or serviced. And then you can go across major milestones. So like the house that I've been living in right now, the garage door spring has broken 2 times in the 13 years I've lived here, which is about normal. A garage door spring is probably only going to last about, 5 or so years, right? So like you can start emailing people or texting them at year 4, which is huge, right? That's 1,200 something days after that first purchase. But it's much easier to continue to get business from people that you've already sold than get a new customer. Hey, just want to let you know, you've had your garage door for a few years. The spring is likely about to, go. So if you ever hear like a massive snapping sound or like your garage door doesn't open, that probably means your spring is broken. Call us here and we'll send somebody out right away and we'll get you taken care of. And yes, look in the chat, y'all. Everything is marketing, sales, fulfillment. That's it. And it's every line item too. So garage door has a marketing, sales, and fulfillment. But then a spring replacement also has a marketing, sales, and fulfillment. But the marketing of the spring replacement starts at the fulfillment of the garage door install. So everything kind of chains together. But again, start simple. I know this is probably like drinking from a fire hose, but start simple and go from there.
Well, those 3 things are, I've heard this 1,000 times, but when you just said it again, I had to write it down because I was like, yes, it's so simple, but if you break each of those things out and look at how you're doing it, each of those different things, and you're like, oh, you know what, we're doing everything great, but our fulfillment sucks. Mm-hmm. We're like totally behind on everything, and we're not, I don't know. Another question I had is for the chat. Have you ever sold anything while you were asleep? First time you sell something while you're sleeping is kind of a really amazing feeling because you've automated it and you wake up and you're like, wow, we have 3 oil change bookings. I'm speaking for Linda. They do mobile oil changes. And you wake up in the morning, you have 3 that are sold because they went online after your follow-up email and they purchased, the product. That's just a great feeling.
It is. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call out Steadfast Mechanical. They're an HVAC company right here in the Phoenix area. I'm friends with the guy, Brandon, that runs it. His nickname is Fuzz. He's a veteran. He has a whole team, and they do really good stuff. And on the spring and the fall, he's always promoting, hey, go ahead and get your AC tuned up before the summer hits. Go get your AC tuned up before it gets really cold. He's top of mind. Anytime I need something with my AC, I call up Fuzz. I'm like, hey, can you send one of your guys out? And he's not even using automation. He's just like doing it manually. He's just in the streets hustling and posting on social and, that kind of stuff. So,
you mean your customers aren't thinking about you all the time?
They sure aren't.
We think that as business owners, right? You guys, we think they're thinking because we're so cool and we got our big logo and we got our van painted up with a decal and we're on social media all day long. So they're thinking about us, but you know what? They're not.
They really aren't.
Just like you're not thinking about your bug pest control girl, until you see a scorpion, right? So you want to be the one they're thinking about. And that's where these automated emails and SMS can, help you. And social media automation, we're not going to go into that, but that's a whole nother one.
Yeah, it is. Elizabeth makes a good point. People forget what we do. So you do have to remind them. For the oil change folks, do you also inflate tires? Will you change out, the fluids on that? Like, you got to remind people what you do because we think about it every single day because that's our business. But you, like me, have a bunch of stuff going on. So you're going to forget about what's happening. So you got to always stay top of mind, which thank you for all your comments and questions, y'all. This is turning out way better than I could have expected. And we still got 2 myths to go. So The third myth of automation being robotic and impersonal, no. It's only robotic and impersonal if you carelessly design it and you ignore the context of it. When you factor in when this happens, then do this until they do that, that's the case. So like, here's a really simple example. We've probably all been to plays. Look at the spotlights on stage left, stage right. What if the spotlight was not on one of those dancers or people? It would look weird, but you may not be able to mindfully say, well, this is why it looks weird, because the spotlight is behind the lady. But there's just something that looks weird about it. That's what bad automation is. People can't necessarily put their finger on it, but there's something about it that just leaves a bad taste in their mouth. So like, don't be a bad spotlight operator. Don't have, the sound effects weird. Let's keep rolling. Let's keep ripping through this. So the fourth myth, that automation only works for certain industries. So obviously this isn't true, but let's go ahead and talk about the two types of approaches to things. There's the idea of the farmers and herders, where they're farming, they're planting plants, they're going to go ahead and nurture and grow things and raise things and take care of things, and then they can eat their crops months later. Or if they're like raising a goat, they can regularly get milk out of it, or chickens, they can get the eggs out of it. Compared to a hunter-gatherer, basically every single day they're fighting for their life to eat their dinner tonight. And there's nothing wrong with this. The hunter-gatherer thing has been in anthropology forever. Hunters eat what they killed today. Farmers eat what they planted months ago. Hunters are always focused on the next meal. Farmers are focused on the consistent meals. Hunters have no buffer for slow hunting periods. So when it gets cold or the herds move somewhere else, they're kind of SOL. Farmers can store for weak harvest periods. But here's the cool thing. Businesses need both of these skills. They need to be able to make the easy sale today and then also earn the sale in the future. And that's exactly what automation can do. So if you have somebody like you're a plumber and, someone's sink exploded, I need you to fix my sink right now, and help me fix this. Or we can earn the sale in the future because, again, the oil change example. Maybe I don't need to change my oil now, but in a couple of months, I'm going to need to do it. Or when I'm going to take a road trip, I definitely want to go ahead and get the maintenance here. With automation, you can do both of these. Every industry can benefit from this. It is going to look different based on your offer, though. So that's the thing to keep in mind, that based on whatever you're selling, that there's like the easy kills and the meals we can eat right now today. And then there's the things that you're going to plant and nurture and nourish and eat 6 months from now. But it's not just for certain industries. Again, it harkens back to the milestones that you're doing and, how do you follow up with people on that? Let's go ahead and wrap up with this last myth, that any automation platform can work for any business, which kind of yes and no here. So I want to talk to you about the idea of no free lunch. So as I mentioned, I've been using this stuff since I was in college in 2008. I have a master's degree in electrical engineering, and I studied machine learning and computer vision, pattern recognition, AI, basically. And there's a whole paper that people figured out. It's called the no free lunch theorem, that says that if something is great at one thing, it's terrible at everything else. I think there's a saying out there that, like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to think it's stupid its whole life. When you're looking at various automation platforms, you need to make sure that it has the features that you need for your business. So things that are super common is the ability to schedule services, or if you have like a fleet of vans or something, like routing that. If you're in a medical thing, you need to be HIPAA compliance. Or if you have account-based businesses where maybe you're like doing floral and flower stuff or janitorial stuff for like big businesses, it's account-based where there's multiple people involved in that. So the big takeaway here is make sure on what you must have when you're selecting an automation platform, because there are different bells and whistles between different platforms. Like if you're a car mechanic, there's entire CRMs that are exclusively built around fixing cars, hooking into your inventory, and doing like regular maintenance. If you have a fleet, there's all sorts of CRMs and things out there that you basically say, cool, here's the 10 vans that I have, here's the team that are assigned to this, even equipment management management of like, here's the, like if you're a carpet cleaner, right? Like here's the 20 different carpet cleaning vacuums we have, and you can assign that. You have to be clear on what those are when you're selecting a platform. Otherwise, you may work on something that it may not necessarily work for you, which is okay. You can also have, you also have multiple tools. That's a thing that I've learned over the years, is that you might have one tool that's all about managing the relationship, the marketing, sales, or fulfillment, and then you have a totally different tool for the operations of how do you market, how do you sell, how do you fulfill. So for example, I said that we use Keep for our CRM, but we use Trello to track the work for all of our client projects, because Keep is not for project management. No free lunch. It's amazing at CRM stuff and automation. It's the worst in the world for for projects.
Can we do a quick vote?
Yeah.
Just real quick vote. Everyone put in the chat. What automation platform do you use? And if you don't, just write none. But if you use like Go High Level, CRM, if you use MailChimp, that's an automation.
That's also another platform.
It's not the best automation, but it's a start.
So we got some people using High Level, some people using none, some people using a CRM. That's awesome. And yeah, I know that High Level doesn't really have the like fleet management thing, or even the ability to like the traveling salesman problem, or if you have like 5 appointments in different parts of town, it's not going to route to the best 5 places to go. And even people have in-house systems, which is awesome. So like Jobber, there you go. Jobber for operations, which is awesome. So realistically, as your business grows and what you have going on, in all my years, I've observed that you need to have something for the customer relationship management of it, and then you need to have something for the behind the scenes operation of it. At a bare minimum, at least 2 tools, which is okay. These are good problems to have. So that is the myth that we're busting here. You got to choose it based on the features that your business needs, and don't don't buy into fancy slick sales conversations or demos or anything. Like if it doesn't have what you need, don't do it, and get really precise with the questions that you're going to go ahead and ask people. Get real clear on the use cases that you need. So yes, any platform can work for any business generally, but based on your specific business, there's going to be critical features that you need, and make sure that you have that. Okay, so I've got clients that are in the medical field, so they need electronic health records and HIPAA compliance and stuff like that, for ordering tests and things like that. That's almost a non-negotiable. They need to know all of that stuff, and it's got to be HIPAA compliant and all the privacy and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, maybe they have something else like High Level or HubSpot or Keep or whatever, but then they also have their health record platform that they tie into. So that's kind of what we've busted today. Only big companies need to use automation? Not true. Automation needs to be complex to provide value? Not true. Start simple, complexify over time. Automation is not robotic and personal when you think about the individual ground level experience. And it does not only work for certain industries, it can work for any industry. You just need to be clear on what is your industry and what do you need. And then no, any platform cannot work for any business. Really, well, it can, but to really take your business to the next level, make sure that you have one that has exactly what you need for your business. So going back to Neil's example at the very beginning of this, if every air conditioner company had the right automation platform for their industry that was simple yet personalized and designed with care, now who do you think would have won Neil's business? It's that particular one. So
Can I jump in again?
Yeah,
So
of course.
almost all of them nailed the like quote part, right?
Yeah.
Because they have Jobber, or they have one of those there's like 3 big ones that do like the trades.
Mhm.
And so they got the quote thing right. Like they got we're going to show up at 5:15. That they pretty much got that right. But what's the point of all that if you don't check back and say, and they all knew my air conditioner wasn't broke. So why not check back and say, hey, to make a joke out of it, say like, hey, did that thing finally break down? Because we're we got some time this week or whatever. But yeah, I thought that was they got the beginning part of it right, and that's just, you gotta, like you said, you gotta do the marketing, the sales, and the fulfillment, all of those things.
You totally need to. So I get it, y'all. This is a lot. We've spent about 51 minutes here, and it's definitely like drinking from a fire hose. So let me go ahead and give you what the next steps are. Like, where do you start? Because I don't know exactly where everybody's starting. So I've got some general steps for you. So the first thing that you need to do, pick one offer, pick one line item on your P&L and start from there. And then select one phase of your customer journey for that offer. Is it the marketing of it, sales of it, is the fulfillment of it? Okay, I don't know the answer. So if it's like garage door installation, maybe it's like, cool, here's our P&L line item for garage door installs, and I want to focus on the fulfillment of it. Then once you have that, within that phase, choose one major one until milestone within that. When we install the garage door until, a month out from there or something like that, whatever the case is. Then what you need to do is do a little bit of introspection. Go ahead and document and analyze the current reality for what's actually happening right now. And don't judge yourself. Maybe it's really bad. Maybe nothing's happening. Maybe it's all manual. Maybe you have an email or two that you're supposed to send or that your texts are supposed to text and they don't. But just get clear on like what is so right now. And then harden that or redesign what it should look like. Figure out what do you actually want to have happen. When we install a garage door, I want this to happen until they take like a post-install survey, or maybe until their first 90 days, or like whatever the case is. Redesign that intentionally, and then take whatever messaging you've been doing as far as like emails or texts or whatever, and write or update that messaging to be in alignment with that experience. I want to point out, none of this has anything to do with software at this point. What's the offer? What part of the customer journey? What's a major milestone? What's the reality of it? What should this look like? Then rebuild it, rewrite it, update the messaging, and then start to deliver that. You can do that right now today, or maybe in the next couple of days. Start doing that with the new or updated messaging. Here's the new emails we're going to use. Here's the new text messages we're going to use. And then, this is still all manual. You should only start exploring automation when you cannot consistently deliver that experience manual. Because if you're only doing a couple of appointments every day, probably not that hard. That now just becomes a habit, a daily habit, or maybe a couple of times a day. Hey, every time you do this, do this. You got to have that governance and accountability. When you cannot consistently deliver that, then you should really start looking at the automation part of it. And there's many ways to do it. So you might be wondering, how do you plan world-class automated experiences? I mentioned it before. I have a free course called How to Automate Like a Pro. It's a mini course. In half an afternoon, you should be able to get through the 2 hours of videos, customer projects. It's free to register. Once you complete the mini course, if you want to book a call with me, you'll get a link to book a call with me. But if not, I just hope that you learn what it takes, because this is also a platform agnostic thing. I candidly don't really care what tool you use, because it's all about what is the customer experience. And it's really about storyboarding out how it should look. And then the tools are like 3 or 4 layers of abstraction away from that. It doesn't, anybody can send a text or an email or whatever, but the question is, why are you sending it? When are you sending it? What are you saying? How should people respond? That's kind of it. I guess, what questions do you have? Let's look through the chat. And thank you for your time today. I know that we're pretty much coming right up on this. And I think we answered most of the questions as we went along.
Let's have another vote here.
Yeah.
Everybody put something in the chat that you'd like to automate, that you've been thinking about automating, whether it's the sales journey, as Paul mentioned, the marketing journey, the sales journey, or the fulfillment journey. And like he said, maybe if you can't do this manually, don't start with the automations, but maybe you'd start some of your fulfillment sections, executing the jobs, maybe automate some of that stuff so you have more time to do the sales and the marketing toward the front end of it. But what do you guys have there? Okay, we got a marketing. Any specific ideas? We have marketing journey, sales journey.
Thanks for hanging out, Ashley.
Does anyone want to automate their Google reviews process? That's an easy one.
Ooh,
right?
So that's
a pretty easy one. You could do that pretty easily with most platforms.
Yeah. So there's a cool tool out there called Thrive, which I'm also a certified partner in. Thrive basically does the super top of funnel stuff. So it makes sure that not only is your Google business listing accurate, but it also syndicates that information to like Yellow Pages and Yelp and Trustpilot and whatnot. Because when it comes to being discovered, like if you search plumber in Phoenix, Google goes out and looks at all the various websites on the internet to see who's saying the same thing. If, John the plumber has a listing on Google and Yelp and Trustpilot, Yext, whatever, if all of those listings say the exact same thing, that tells Google that we can trust this. And that's what Thrive does. It gives you one place to manage your business listing that syndicates it to all the other ones. So if you have holiday hours, all you do is adjust your holiday hours in Thrive. drive, it pushes it out to the 40, 60, whatever websites that they have. And then as far as reviews, it centralizes all reviews too. So you have one place to look to manage all of your reviews. So if you're interested in that, definitely let me know. Go ahead and find me on Facebook. Go ahead and find me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you.
And I've got a couple quick announcements. We have a couple events coming up I'd like to talk about, but does anyone have any questions for Paul? Obviously, you can also connect with him after the fact.
Yep. And
Okay,
then also here, I'm going to throw my email in the chat as well. If you guys just want to email me, you can. Let me know. Take it from here, Neil. You go.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a lot for an hour, but it hopefully got some people thinking about some ideas and some nice compliments there in the chat. Chronologically for the events on October 30th, we have a Zoom networking event. Many of you on here have been to them. If you have not, I welcome you to join us. It's going to be a Halloween theme, and I'll give you my sneak peek. I'm going to wear my mask. Check that out. Wear a little mask or do something fun, or just come in your pajamas, whatever the case is. November 19th, we're doing a in-person event in Chandler, which is close to Paul, at Rudy's Barbecue at 5 p.m. And then lastly, we're going to do another lunch and learn on November 20th, and that is going to be led by Elizabeth, who's in the meeting today. Elizabeth Samuels from Salterra Complete Web Solutions, and we're going to talk SEO for small business focus, as we always do. There's no registration yet for that. Please save the date, and you will get the information to sign up just like you signed up for this event. So we will do small business SEO.
I want to attend that Rudy's in-person thing on the 19th. I want to meet some of y'all in person.
Yeah, please come by. All right, well, I think that's everything. So again, thank you all for coming here to learn more and grow your business with some new thoughts and ideas. And if you have any questions for either one of us, please feel free to message us. You know how to reach us. All right.
Everybody.
Good luck with your businesses.
See ya.
Take care.